My dear students, friends and colleagues, I am Mr. Krishna Kumar, Faculty of Allied Health Sciences. Today our academic topic is early warning signs of cardiac arrest. We all know that cardiac arrest, when in cardiac arrest happening in the ward or in the ICU, in the ICU you will call for the help, but usually in the ward and other areas of the hospital, you will call for the code blue. It's a specialized team led by the emergency physician or intensivist. So they will take care of the patients who is needed cardiac arrest. It is the complete loss of pulse and respiration. They will start the resuscitation. These situations arises suddenly or sometimes slowly. Most of the time, when the patient is admitted in the ward because of non-cardiac reasons or other systems involved, they will develop the cardiac arrest slowly. It's not a very sudden process. Sometimes it will happen very slowly. It will show some signs, early warning signs. That's called early warning signs. So what are all the things that we can predict earlier? This class is very important for the nurses and medical officers who is working in the ward apart from the emergency room or in the critical care, right? So there is a simple mnemonics is there. So that's what this class is very important. That is the thing I want to share with you, right? So that is known as, we all know that English vowels, right? A, E, I, O, U. See, A, E, I, O, U. This is the English vowels. That is the tips. T, I, P, P, S. Here there is a one P is extra. So that is the A, E, I, O, U, T, I, P, P, S. That is the mnemonics. So we can easily identify the early warning signs of cardiac arrest with these mnemonics. Let us see by one, right? So A stands for airway. See, what's the airway? The airway starts from the nose, then which runs to the trachea and to the lungs. Most of the time, when the patient's sensorium is deteriorated, or for example, due to the CNS problem, the patient is having the developed sudden ICH or a massive stroke or a hypoglycemia, or patient having the head injury previously, now that head injury is worsened. So that kind of situations, the patient's sensorium will drop drastically. So that time the airway, most of the time the airway will get compromised. So they will have the snoring. So snoring is a signs of it's an emergency in the ward. So that time what we should do as a ward staff or a medical officer, we have to activate the team. There is a specialized team is there, and it will differ from hospital to hospital according to their policies. So some places it's called RRT, Rapid Response Team. So they will run and they will resuscitate the patient in the ward. They will prevent the cardiac arrest. So that team is known as Rapid Response Team. In some places, they will call it as a medical emergency team. So their roles are the same, but the name is different. That depends upon the hospital and the locality where you are practicing, right? So that is the airway problem. First, snoring. Snoring is a signs of emergency. It must be inappropriate to the clinical condition. For example, the patient is having sleeping, it's not emergency, right? Then the patient is having obstructive sleep apnea, in between he's snoring, so that's not a emergency. It is inappropriate for the clinical condition. It means the patient is snoring unusually. He needs more threshold to wake him up. So that kind of scenarios is called as the inappropriate for the clinical condition. That's the airway problem. So any strider inappropriate for the clinical condition, always you should take it as an emergency, get the help from the emergency room or intensive care units. You can call, if this problem is very severe, you can call it for RRT or medical emergency team, right? So the next A stands for the acute asthma. Acute asthma in the ward is a very dangerous condition. It may sometimes resolve with simple nebulization or simple medication. Sometimes it may refractory to all your measures. So that patient needs sometimes intensive care admission or extensive treatment, right? Even though the ventilation may be the choice. So in this kind of situation, we have to be activate the RRT or MET. At least the patient needs to be notified to the senior medical officers to get the further help. So then another emergency in the airway is called a stridor. So the stridor is a inspiratory sound. The patient may have the stridor after like antibiotic or any injections that may produce the allergic or anaphylaxis. So these kind of situations, the patient needs a emergency care. That may you have to shift the patient to the some high dependency care units, right? So the when you talk about the snoring and stridor, both is different. So how we can differentiate is the snoring. Usually the mechanism is the tongue muscles will get loose when the patient is going for a sleep or the patient is little unconscious. All these muscles loses its control, the tongue will fall back, which will obstruct the airway. That's known as the snoring, right? But stridor is little different. How it is different? Stridor is happening in the larynx, usually in the vocal cord, due to anaphylaxis or allergic reactions or something is foreign body in the larynx. That time, due to the paralysis of the nerve, so that time they will have the stridor. So always how to differentiate is the snoring is from the tongue, the stridor is little down, which is from the larynx. So that is the thing. So the airway problem and acute asthma needs to be considered as a medical emergency. That patients should be transferred to the intensive care unit or high dependency care unit. That depends upon your policy, right? Next letter is E. E stands for electrolytes, right? So electrolytes, what electrolytes? All the electrolytes imbalances are considered to be dangerous, right? So some of the electrolytes are very dangerous. Let me see that, right? So first electrolyte is the potassium, kalemic control. So hypokalemia and hyperkalemia, the both is dangerous, right? These now, what is the normal range of the potassium? Usually it is 3 to 5 milliequivalents per liter is the normal range. Anything lower is also a problem, anything higher is also a problem, right? So that needs to be addressed and corrected immediately. We can prevent the cardiac arrest. Otherwise these patients may go for a arrest. So that is you should consider as a early warning sign, right? So what other electrolyte? Then you come to the sodium. Sodium is a important electrode, extracellular fluid electrode that may cause the lower of sodium is known as hyponatremia. Hyponatremia always produce the CNS symptoms. The hypernatremia, that also will cause so many metabolic problems. So when you face these kind of situations, please kindly activate the intensive care team or medical emergency team, right? So what's the other electrolytes? Like phosphorus, magnesium, all these electrolytes also important. Any electrolyte which is above from the normal range, we should consider it as an emergency. That is the early warning sign. Next, E stands for the ECG, right? Whenever you admit the patient, nowadays the ECG is a very basic test, right? So any changes in the ECG from the baseline, that is what you have taken previously, right? Any changes in the heart rate, especially less than 60, you should consider as emergency. The heart rate more than 100 with inappropriate for the clinical condition, then you should consider as a emergency. That patient needs intensive care or high dependency care transfer, right? Next we can go for the endocrine. When E stands for the endocrine. In this endocrine, thyroid and these cortisol levels are very important. So these patients, extreme levels of these patients may go for a deterioration and to the arrest. So this needs to be addressed. So the E stands for electrolytes, ECG and endocrine, right? The next we will come for the next letter is known as I. I stands for the insulin. How the insulin will cause emergency, right? Patients may go for hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. Both extremes is important, which will not produce cardiac arrest, which may produce a significant brain damage if you unnoticed for a long time. So that is the point here. So the insulin needs to be addressed. whether it may be a hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia, that should be checked and corrected properly, right? Sometimes the patient is having the diabetic with underlying other associated infections. That patients you cannot achieve the correct level of glucose in the patient. So they may go for a hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. That situation, that patient, if you correct by this time, at the moment the patient is having the hypoglycemia, you correct it. After 2 hours, 3 hours, that patient may go for a again hypoglycemia. These patients are not cannot treat in the ward. That patient needs a little advanced care level of care. So that is stands for the I. Next, O stands for the opioid exposure. Whenever you are administrating opioids, right? Opioid drugs, fentanyl, morphine, pethidine. So all these kinds of drugs will cause significant respiratory depression, right? That patients, when you receive from the operation theater or from the intensive care unit with the exposure of opioids, that patient needs to be given a priority. Otherwise, they may go for a respiratory arrest or respiratory deterioration, right? So that's the known as opioid exposure. Next to this, urine output. So if we ask most of the ward nurses, if I ask what is the normal urine output, most of them cannot tell correct answer. So that is the real situation. So the normal urine output ranges from 0.5 to 1 ml per kg per hour is a normal in the adult. It is little higher in the pediatric age group. It is 1 ml to 2 ml per kg per hour for the pediatric population, right? Less than that, for a more 3 hours, continuous 3 hours, you should consider as an emergency, right? Any patients who is producing more urine output, 300 ml per hour for the continuous 3 hours, that also considered to be a emergency. That must be inappropriate for the clinical condition. Again, why I'm telling is that same patient you treated with the diuretics. For example, you given us some loop diuretics, or you treated with mannitol, or you treated with albumin. All these kinds of drugs which will cause us more urine output. So without that, suddenly the patient is pouring off urine. Always you should be considered it is an emergency. It may be a central induced diabetes insipidus or some nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. So all these conditions will worsen the patient. At present, it will not produce immediate deterioration, but it will produce a slow deterioration. Then the patient may go for a arrest. Right, that is the U. Next, we are coming into the T. T stands for trauma. Any trauma in the ward, right? Patient may fell in the bathroom, or the patient sustained injury from the railing of the cot, or in the ward side. So during the physiotherapy, all these kinds needs to be addressed, because these patients, old age, especially old age, they may get the head injury. It may be a subtle head injury. Later on, they may develop the subdural hematoma or some brain contusions or something. That patient may have some imbalance, that may be the stroke. So we will unnotice that. So that patient needs to be given attention. So that is the trauma. Then infection. The next thing is the infection. Infection also will produce a rapid deterioration when you consider it from the pneumonia. Yes, we all know. We all seen that H1N1 epidemic. Now it is a corona pandemic. So all these situations, these viral infections, that will rapidly kill the patients from the hours to the day. It may kill the patient, right? So pneumonia. Next dangerous things is the meningitis. The meningitis will produce the deterioration in the sensorium. So once the sensorium is deteriorated, that patient will die because of secondary complications like airway obstruction and other problems. So that needs to be addressed. Then peritonitis. It will easily will cause the sepsis and septic shock. That patient, if you are not intervening, they will die within hours. So that is the infection. Come into the pain. Any patient in the ward or in the high dependency care unit, they are sudden acute excruciating pain, especially from the back or the chest or the head. So all these acute pain needs to be given extremely important, because sudden headache, the patient is having this sudden headache, the patient admitted for some other cardiac problem, you given all antiplatelets, anticoagulant, the patient developed a sudden severe headache. It may be the aneurysmal rupture, SAH. So that patient may have this pain. So that pain we need to be given immediate attention. Don't treat in the ward with painkillers. right? It needs to be evaluated, right? Next is the sudden back pain. It may be aortic dissection. All these kinds of pains, chest pain, it may be a MI, heart attack, then it may go for arrhythmia. So all these kind of things we have to give a extreme importance, and you should treat according to that, right? Then P. P stands for two things. One is psychiatric. What is this? The patient is already proven a psychiatric patient, right? These patients, whether we can admit in your hospital ward or not, it depends upon your hospital policy. Some of the hospitals, they will not admit the psychiatric patients because they will do self-harming themselves, or they make a harm to others. So that's hospital is specialized for the handling the psychiatric patient, then it's no problem. Otherwise you should give extreme care to these kind of patients. The next very important thing is the psychological factor. So what psychological factor is important? Sometimes everything is normal, your vital signs, urine output, everything is normal. Sometimes the patient will tell that he is not good. You have to give a extreme importance to that word. You have to transfer the patient to the high level of care. You should rule out all other causes, like maybe you can check the cardiac enzymes. You may have you can rule out the pulmonary embolism. So many things is there, so you can rule out. Then one you can conclude everything is normal, right? Then psychological feeling of the treating nurse or a doctor. If you feel that this patient is not good, everything is okay, but you feel that this patient is something is wrong with this patient, then that needs to be a extremely important. That is known as the P, psychiatric patients and psychological patients. Now we comes to the letter S. S, stroke for one important condition, stroke. Everybody will know about the heart attack, MI, right? But this stroke, most of the time they will fail to recognize that. So how we can recognize the stroke in a ward or in the pre-hospital setting, right? It is easily, there is also a mnemonic is there, that is known as BFAST, BEFAST, right? Okay, let me go through that. B means disturbance in the balance, right? The patient is having swaying of movement, he is having the giddiness, and he may have the vomiting. All these signs is known as the disturbance in the balance. So that kind of patients may be a stroke patient. So that is a very medical emergency. If you will not treat, that may produce a disability to the patient for a lifelong. It's not immediate, it may continue to the lifelong, right? Next is B. E is eye disturbance. In the stroke, if you consider E is eye disturbance, sudden loss of vision or blackout, then the patient becomes normal. This kind of scenario can be because of stroke, right? Some patients will have the double vision. That's also kind of stroke. Some patients will neglect to one side. For example, they will focus only the right side. They will neglect the left side. So that kind of eye disturbances can be these kinds of stroke. BE. F means facial deviation. Due to the weakness of the facial muscles to the one side, the opposite muscle will overact and that will deviate to the normal side. That is known as the facial deviation. That's kind of a stroke sign. A means arm drift. The patient, if you ask the patient to hold the arm like this with closed eyes, they cannot hold it. The arm will drop. So that the signs of stroke, right? Next, yes, BEFA, arm drift. Yes is stands for slurring of speech. The patient will have the problem with the language. They cannot communicate. They cannot produce the sentences. They cannot make the words. All these emergencies, symptoms or signs of stroke, that patients needs to be given attention, need a higher level of care. We all know that seizures is another emergency in the ward that you will easily recognize. The patient relative also will recognize. That patient needs to be given a extreme care to transfer the patient to the little higher level of care. So again, I will summarize these things, right? So what are the early warning signs of cardiac arrest? Is the AEIOU, that is the English vowels. So TIPPS, tips, so that is our mnemonic to know the early warning signs of cardiac arrest. A for airway and acute asthma. E stands for electrolytes, ECG and endocrine. I stands for insulin. Insulin means it is hypoglycemia or hypoglycemia. Then opioid exposure. Any opioid exposure by Sometimes they may have the substance abuses, that kind of situations. You have to be very careful. Any opioid exposure needs to be treated carefully. Then urine output, less urine output, 0.5 to 1 ml per kg per hour. Less than that or more than that needs to be addressed, right? Then trauma in the ward side, that needs to be addressed. That patient needs to have the little higher level of care. Then infection, right? Acute infection, signs of infection. If you see some signs of infection, that patient, you always have the eye on the patients. Then P, excruciating acute pain from the back, from the chest, head pain, whatever the pain, sometimes limb pain, all this needs to be addressed. Then P stands for psychiatric or psychological. Psychiatric patients and psychological feeling of the patient, treating doctor or treating nurse, that needs to be a given extreme importance to that feelings. S stands for stroke, shock, seizures, right? Okay, so AEIOU, AIPPS is the tips to identify the early warning signs of cardiac arrest. So if you treat, intervene in the right time, you can prevent the cardiac arrest, right? So I hope that you all enjoy this class.